No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that this world was being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man's. No one gave a thought to the older worlds of space as sources of human danger, or thought of them only to dismiss the idea of life upon them as impossible. Yet, across the gulf of space, intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely they drew their plans against us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Common Anomaly podcast, where every week you get your dose of all things weird and wonderful. A mysterious voyager from beyond our solar system has arrived. What are its intentions? How long has it been lurking in the dark? Or is it just a lonely rock, quietly exploring the cosmos? Humanity has long dreamt of visitors from outer space, and they have arrived. Now what? Today we'll explore these questions and more, right here in the Anomaly. I, of course, am your host, Stuart James. Joining me today is Clayton James. How's it going, brother?
It's going good this week. How are you? Feeling better?
I'm doing good. I tell you, it was a hell of a week. A hell of a week. You know, I think I actually had a bout of COVID. I think it was what it was. Like, the illness itself was very short-lived. Like, it just started on Saturday when we were recording last week. I was sick all day Sunday. Monday I felt great, but the cough always gets me. It felt a lot like that COVID cough, you know, and it got so violent at night. I just wasn't getting any sleep. It was a rough week. But I feel like I'm over it now. I feel like I'm doing good. How about you? How are you doing?
Oh, good. But now you got me scared. I'm going to get it now.
Well, you've been fine all week, right? So you should be good.
I don't know. These things take a while sometimes. I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be talking about, I guess, the hot topic of the day. It's been increasingly in the news all month long. We're talking about 3i Atlas. So you this was your idea, this episode. So why don't you start off? Give me a couple sentences. Why are you psyched about talking about this today?
Well, actually, I suggested this episode for next week. We were going to do something totally different this week.
That's right.
And then kind of midweek, I'm like, you know what we should do next week? And you're like, no. Let's do it this week.
Well,
now's the time.
It's just everybody's covering it now, so I feel like it's the talk of the town, basically, right? So it's like, if we're going to cover it, we should probably get on it, kind of thing. I'm excited because I thought it feels like a natural follow-up to our Season 1, Episode 5. First Contact, where we talked about Oumuamua and Dyson spheres and contact with alien civilizations, right? And I felt like, I feel like we weren't able to cram everything we wanted to talk about into that episode. And the show's grown so much since then. I thought this will be great to revisit, right? Very timely.
Yeah, and Oumuamua, of course, for those that don't know, that was the first interstellar object we ever detected passing through our solar system. And this new one, 3i Atlas, 3i meaning 3 for the third, and
third interstellar visitor.
This would be the third ever interstellar object we detected. And much like Oumuamua, it's weird.
Yeah, there's some oddities about it. So yeah, exciting stuff. I can't wait to get into it. I think we've got there's been so much that's developed since that last episode in that direction of, are we close to contact? So I'm really glad we're revisiting it. But before that, do we have any shout outs, any news we want to cover just before we get into the meat of this?
Well, I'm really excited the way the show's going lately. We seem to really be picking up a lot of traffic the past few weeks. And it's so exciting to see.
Feels like we're finally getting some traction. Yeah. I mean, still humbled numbers by, relativistic to, we're not Joe Rogan or anything, but it feels like, we definitely leveled up a little bit. And I guess quick note to the audience, you might hear ads now coming. We just kind of crossed that threshold and to be able to do some ad partnership. Hopefully it's not too invasive. It should just be quickly inserted either right at the beginning or the end of the episode. Do you know what our tally is so far on our ads?
No.
Do you know how much we're raking in the dough with our ad placements?
Have we made our first dollar yet?
We're at 16 cents currently.
Wicked.
What are you going to do with your half? It's 16 cents USD. Give you that. So what is that, like 40 cents of Canadian?
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I do have one shout out though. I do have one.
Oh, great.
One listener I want to shout out. I want to shout out a coworker of mine, my friend Luis, who found the show somehow. I didn't tell him about it, but
wow.
he found the show somehow, and he always has something really interesting or witty to say about it.
Oh,
come
awesome.
Monday.
Awesome. So maybe he's driving a lot of those new downloads. He discovers the show.
Maybe.
Was it Jazz? Was it Jazz Winder tipped him off?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, and you wanted to give a little gift to Louis. Is it Louis or
Luis?
Luis.
Luis, come Tuesday, I'm gonna have a hat for you.
Yeah. We got a hat with a patch, with a logoed patch for you. So yeah, thanks for listening and thanks for coming along for the ride. All right, why don't we get into it? 3i Atlas. Here we go.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start? Let's just cover the basics, I guess. So what is 3i Atlas? It was discovered just July 1st, 2025. So just a month ago, this first arrived and it was spotted via the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile. Hence the name, 3i, like you said, third interstellar visitor, Atlas after the telescope.
Yeah. And Atlas, that's an acronym. It stands for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System.
Oh, wow.
Now, that is an ominous sounding name.
Yeah, so its job is basically asteroid hunting, keeping an eye on.
It's basically part of a planetary defense network. You know, it's basically designed to detect these near-Earth objects. So we have, depending on the size and the distance, either a few days to a few weeks notice before, we're all horribly crushed from above somehow.
That doesn't sound like quite enough notice for us to actually do anything about that.
Yeah, well, it's better than nothing.
Mobilizing space missions, we're not that effective at it that a couple of weeks notice would do much, except give enough warning for everyone to freak out and panic.
Well, nothing is quite as motivating as a deadline.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so 3i Atlas. Yes, it's our third interstellar visitor. The first one we talked about back on that a First Contact episode in season 1.
Yeah.
If you want to go check it out and learn all about Oumuamua, if you haven't heard about Oumuamua, it was the first and also a very strange object. The second was one called 2i Borisov. I actually don't know much about that one.
Well, there's not really.
There wasn't anything too much
in the
strange.
Context of this show.
Yeah.
There's not really much to Borisov. It was an interstellar object. They could tell from its speed and its trajectory, that it came from interstellar space. But there wasn't anything unusual about it. It was very much a garden variety comet.
Yeah.
Whereas Oumuamua and 3i Atlas, there's a lot of weird stuff about them.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because and this is something I very much wanted to talk about on the show. Is you're seeing headlines all month. I heard about this story at the beginning of the month, and we didn't cover it right away because I was like, okay, another rock.
Let's let this play out a little bit.
And then all the rest of the month, all you're seeing is headlines saying alien mothership invading, alien armada due to arrive and destroy Earth. Which seems like crazy sensationalized, which I think it very much is. Not that there isn't anything a little odd or unusual about this rock. So why don't you take off from there? What's going on? Why are people freaking out thinking this is an alien mothership?
So, well, the first thing that was really noticeable about 3i Atlas was its brightness, how bright it is in the sky, which would imply that it is very large.
Yeah.
There's some debate about how large it is exactly.
Yeah.
It depends on whether it's an asteroid or like a rocky body, or it's a comet, an icy body, because a comet will have this huge plume of gas enveloping it, that's called the coma, and it'll have a tail, and that will make its apparent size much bigger than the actual size of its nucleus.
Right.
There's this kind of the mainstream theory that this is a comet, that it's so big and it's so bright because it's got this plume of gas around it.
Yeah.
Which makes it look a lot bigger than it is. So if it's a comet, there are estimates of its size somewhere between, 0.5 and 10 kilometers across.
Yeah. What I keep hearing is around the size of the island of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Which in itself, that's the first kind of unusual point. That seems like a statistical outlier. It shouldn't be that big.
Yeah. Well,
based on kind of statistical estimates of how big these kinds of bodies, interstellar bodies, should be.
The universe favors smaller objects.
Yeah.
Our friend Avi Loeb, who we'll talk about quite a bit coming up, I was listening to him on a podcast recently, and he has this analogy where he was talking about how the universe favors smaller objects. If you're walking on a beach, you're going to encounter a few billion grains of sand before you encounter, one rock or one seashell.
Right.
And the universe is the same way. The larger an object is, the more unlikely you are to see it.
Yeah.
And then...
So given this is only the third time ever we've found an object like this, for it to be that massive is the first kind of odd point. That's the first thing. That's unusual. We weren't expecting that.
For interstellar objects, we've got a sample size of 3 right now. And for something that large to appear, statistically, we should have encountered thousands of objects the size of Borisov or Oumuamua before we ever encountered something as big as 3I Atlas.
Yeah.
And even if it's a comet, which there's some debate about, it's big.
Yeah.
But if it's an asteroid, if it's rocky,
the
only thing that could explain its apparent brightness is if it's even bigger. If it's an asteroid, it is 20 to 30 kilometers across.
Right.
It's massive.
Which engenders the question, how did we not spot it before now? Right?
Yeah, it just kind of appeared there. And it's not like we're not looking all the time.
Yeah, I mean, could this just be we've entered, like maybe we've crossed some kind of threshold in terms of our ability to discover and identify these types of bodies?
Oh, yeah. We have a sample size of 3 interstellar objects we've detected.
Since 2017.
Since 2017. Yeah. 2017 was the first one. Are we all of a sudden being invaded? Or are we just getting better at finding them?
Yeah, gotten better at... We've crossed some kind of technological threshold where now we're capable of fine-tuning our instruments, and we're probably using AI to find these things. I'm guessing that's probably the threshold we've crossed. There's just too much data and too much noise for human beings to sift through to find these little, because when we spot these things, they're just little anomalous glimmers of light among the vast star field.
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
so really hard to find for the human eye.
Yeah,
but if you have a computer, an AI that can sift through all that noise and all that data, it points it out for us.
Yeah,
and now we're finding them all the time.
I mean, time was, when the astronomers were looking at the sky, they'd be looking at one specific patch of sky, and you would have to, manually sift through all these pictures, and to detect, these transient objects, it was like playing a game of comparing 2 pictures. Which one of these dots wasn't in the previous picture?
Yeah.
It was very...
But having to do that hundreds of thousands of times, right? It's laborious. Right?
I mean, now, the Atlas telescope. Atlas is not one telescope. It's a whole, worldwide network of telescopes.
Okay.
They got telescopes in Chile and Hawaii and South Africa. They're all over the place. And through this network of telescopes, they can monitor basically the entire sky. They can photograph the entire sphere of sky around us several times a day. And if they leverage AI with that, AI can just analyze all of that, and it can flag these anomalous things. So we're probably going to detect so many of these objects going forward. What used to take months of data sifting can now be done in minutes.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? People might jump to the conclusion that, oh, it's really weird. All of a sudden we have interstellar rocks bombarding the solar system. It's probably been going on all along. Just we finally, like I said, crossed that threshold of detection. Where now we're able to see them coming.
Yeah. So, again, interstellar object. So far we've discovered 3. One was pretty boring, Borisov. I mean, not boring. There's a lot of cool science. It's really cool seeing, something that was formed in another solar system.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot from that.
And it's potentially, hundreds of millions or even billions of years old.
And we got 2 Oumuamua and 3i Atlas that are really weird.
Yeah, a lot of weird things about both.
What's going on with 3i Atlas other than its apparent size and brightness? What else is making it weird?
Data point 1.
Yeah.
It's big. Weird. Data point 2.
The trajectory it's on.
That's right.
So, 3i Atlas, it's approaching the inner solar system, and its orbit, I'm saying orbit in quotes, because this isn't going to be captured by our sun and start circling around our sun. But it's approaching the inner solar system, and it's aligned with the ecliptic or the orbital plane.
Yeah.
And it's thought that
also statistically very unlikely, correct?
Yeah, I think it's calculated at 0.2% chance that something would approach the solar system, some random object would approach perfectly aligned with our orbital plane.
Yeah.
Because what that will allow this object to do is as it passes through our solar system, it's going to actually make several very close planetary flybys.
Yeah.
Which would not happen if it just approached from any angle.
Yeah.
And this is, even with a sample size of 3, this is really unusual.
Yeah.
Like Oumuamua, its orbital inclination was, I think, 144 degrees off the ecliptic. Borisov, it was something like 60 degrees off the ecliptic.
Yeah.
But 3i Atlas, it's perfectly aligned with the ecliptic.
Very odd.
And it's going to pass right by 3 planets as it passes through our solar system.
Oumuamua, it went through the inner solar system as well, right? Mm-hmm. I think actually the closest planetary body it got to as it traversed through the solar system was Earth.
Yeah.
Of any of the planets. Which the fact that these objects are actually getting into the inner solar system is also got to be extremely, extremely statistically unlikely. That's like a bullseye in both instances.
Yeah.
Of Oumuamua and 3i Atlas.
Yeah, and it's not like this is not an object that was captured by the sun's gravity, because it's moving too fast for that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be captured and start orbiting around the sun. As it passes close to the sun's going to bend its trajectory.
Yeah.
It's not going to capture it. So it's like that analogy like Scotty makes in that one Star Trek movie. It's like, hitting a bullet with another bullet while standing on top of a horse.
Yeah.
And being blindfolded.
Yeah.
It's extremely unlikely.
And so with 3i Atlas and this path it's taking through the solar system, you're right. It's going to have the opportunity to do very close flybys by Mars, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's going to pass really close to Mars. It's going to pass really close to Venus, and it's going to pass really close to Jupiter on its way out.
Yeah, and as it's basically going to be on the opposite side of the sun. Yeah. From Earth. At its perihelion.
Yeah, perihelion.
When it's closest to the sun, it'll be basically directly on the opposite side of the sun as the Earth.
Yeah.
And this is why people are looking at this saying, this is very strange. Because if you kind of reverse engineer this path, if we were visiting an alien solar system and wanted to covertly surveil its planets
planet.
And say, assume we knew Earth or the equivalent, was inhabited, and we wanted to surveil the solar system as much as possible, but avoid being seen, this is exactly the course you would plot.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just has the appearance of seeming intentional.
Yeah.
Like if it's random, it's got the appearance of looking like a very deliberate path if you wanted to covertly surveil the solar system.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what's raising eyebrows.
That's the dark forest hypothesis.
Yeah.
Which is, it's one of the possible solutions to Fermi's paradox. If life is so ubiquitous throughout the universe, why don't we see any? And one of the solutions to that is the dark forest hypothesis, and that alien civilizations are more akin to very cautious hunters in a dark forest. You want to move around without
being seen necessarily.
without being detected, and
not marching around blowing trumpets, announcing your presence.
And when you find another civilization, depending on what you find, you'll either run and hide, or you'll preemptively strike.
Yeah.
Because every other civilization out there is potentially a threat to you. You do not know their intentions, so the safest thing to do for your own self-preservation is to preemptively strike.
Yeah.
Or just make yourself completely undetectable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we go on to decide what this is or how we might find out, let's talk a little bit about Avi Loeb.
Yeah.
Because Avi Loeb is a Harvard astronomer, very well credentialed. Safe to say he is one of the utmost experts in his field. And he very much became a household name because of Oumuamua. Yeah. Because he made similar claims when back in 2017, when Oumuamua was discovered, speculating that there's something really strange about this object we've discovered. There's potential that it could be artificial. And he's been coming under fire since. And especially in this instance, he's really being lambasted. Because
he's being dragged through the mud.
Yeah, every headline that is sensationalizing this alien mothership narrative is referencing him, as if Avi says this is alien mothership. There it is. What do you think about that? Is that fair to Avi, or
no? It's not fair.
Has he lost his mind?
A lot of the the unusual properties of Oumuamua he had pointed out, that is yet to be explained, and probably never will be. I mean, Oumuamua is long gone.
Yeah.
Now, Avi Loeb, he's being criticized so harshly now because people are saying, this. I mean, this is exciting. It's an interstellar object. We have so much opportunity to discover so much, do so much real science, and here's this guy Avi Loeb, and he's talking about aliens, and he's discrediting all of us. It's irresponsible science. You know what? Avi Loeb isn't saying this is an alien mothership. He never said that.
No.
All Avi Loeb is saying is there are things about this object that does not fit our established model of the universe.
Yeah.
There are things about it that cannot be explained, and we should be open to the explanation that it is artificial. I'm not saying it's artificial, but we should look at it. Yeah. We should be open to that. And he makes a good point. He says, we invest billions and billions of dollars in searching for microbes in places like Mars.
Yeah.
We invest billions in that. Wouldn't it make sense to kind of hedge our bets and also open ourselves to the idea that there is intelligent life out there? Probably be a lot easier to find.
Yeah.
We just have to, look for the right things.
Yeah. No, and I find it really frustrating to see that side of the debate from those folks that are saying this is irresponsible and it just muddies the water from real scientific work and exploration. I disagree. I think this is exactly the debate we should be having about objects like this, and this is how we get to the truth of what it really is, right? Yeah. And I don't think it's that absurd to be open-minded about an artificial origin. No. After all, how many of our own probes do we launch all over space? We've got 2 Voyager spacecrafts right now outside our solar system, hurtling to God knows where. Who knows what those devices will look like when they next intersect some other alien solar system, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that'll take probably billions of years, right?
Yeah.
How do we know when we get a visitor like that, that's not what we're seeing, right? I think we owe it to ourselves to be open-minded about that, have that discussion, and try and rule those things out, especially in the face of some of these really odd details that we're seeing around these objects.
You know, I think there's a bit of chauvinism in kind of assuming, you know, humans are so special. Only we could have sent probes into interstellar space.
Yeah.
Clearly, like any other object out there, it must be natural. That's so chauvinistic. And you know, people will talk about a scientific consensus. I'm going to catch a lot of flack for saying this, but I hate that phrase when people talk about scientific consensus. The scientific consensus of 3I Atlas is that it's a comet and nothing more. Why do people talk about scientific consensus? Science isn't about consensus and never has been.
No. Yeah.
Most of our greatest discoveries in science have come from questioning some very fundamental truths or what we thought were truths.
Yeah.
When you talk about science, you shouldn't ever be thinking about consensus. That's not science. That is empiricism. People confuse the two all the time.
It becomes dogmatic.
Yeah. Science is about relentlessly questioning everything.
But people like feeling superior over their peers, you know, and saying, no, you're a dum-dum. This is the way it is. It's a lot of ego. And I think there's also a lot of... I think our institutions of science are just as easily corrupted by all the things that corrupt our other institutions. Yeah, you know, money, power, ego.
Yeah, and there's like, you think of a story like either Oumuamua or 3I Atlas. Could it potentially be an artificially made object? You know, a spacecraft, a probe, whatever. You know, you'd think that's a really exciting story. Why wouldn't scientists like really want to investigate that? Because they're afraid of you know, the backlash they're going to face in their own careers. Yeah. You know, in academia and science, you do not want anything to damage your reputation and potentially the funding you're going to get. You do not want to make waves. You do not want to say anything outside of, you know, the established story. And it's the same with pretty much any institution out there. I mean, just look at Avi Loeb. All he did was say, hey, we should be open to this possibility. And look how much his name's been dragged through the mud over just being open to that.
No, I think he's very brave for doing it. Like, he doesn't seem to care. He just wants to be involved and get to the truth, I think. I think he does have a bias. I think he would like that to be true. I think he wants to be part of that discovery if it's something in our near future that can be made. Like, he wants to be there on the ground floor of that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think there is a bit of a cognitive bias on his end as well. But that doesn't mean he's wrong to explore the idea. He's obviously got the background, the credential to know what he's doing, to know what to look for in that exploration. Yeah. So, but it's just a shame, that that's the way the media picks up on it, is they'll just latch on to the slightest hint of, alien mothership, let's run with that. And then that's all you see everywhere in the media.
And it becomes very easy to, like Avi Loeb, he brings up a lot of really interesting stuff about this object, 3I Atlas. And now that he's just being painted as this sensationalist character that's talking about aliens, every one of his arguments is just hand-waved away. Like, no, don't listen to crazy alien guy. Like, there's this whole debate about 3I Atlas. Is it a comet or is it an asteroid? It's even more impressive if it's an asteroid. Like we said, if it's an asteroid, it's a huge asteroid. Yeah. And, you know, the scientific consensus is it's a comet. Why? Because we look at it and it appears to have this fuzzy halo around it. You know, they call that outgassing. You know, it's releasing a cloud of, it's got this plume of gas around it caused by, as it approaches the sun, you know, and is heated by the sun, you know.
You get the cometary plume.
Yeah, it's melting the ice and that's turning into gas. And obviously that makes the comet appear much larger than it actually is. But when you look at the light spectrum, of this object.
Yeah.
And they would be expecting to see certain elements in the light spectrum if it were outgassing.
Yes.
They would be expecting to see water, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen cyanide, methane, ammonia, formaldehyde, cyanogen, and others. All those are missing. They're not seeing any of those in the light spectrum.
They're seeing pristine water.
Yeah, they're seeing a little bit of water, but they're not seeing any. And, like, why is that? Avi Loeb is saying, like, why is this missing? If it's outgassing, why are all these elements missing?
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, it's too far away. It's too far away from the sun, and the outgassing process hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
At a distance of 4.5 AU, which is where it was when we discovered it, that's too far away for outgassing to begin. That usually starts between 3 and 4 AU.
Yeah. So closer to perihelion, well, we should see a difference in behavior.
Yeah, but there's a contradiction there. They're saying, oh, it's got this giant plume around it because it's outgassing.
Yeah.
Well, why are these elements missing? Well, it's too far away to have started outgassing yet.
Yeah.
Well, which is it?
Well, and just because it looks like a comet doesn't necessarily mean it is a comet. If you look at, like, say, our own rocket, one of our own rockets leaving our Earth's atmosphere, it's going to look like a comet, right? Yeah. You're going to see a plume. You're going to see a light, a source of light, and a plume of gas going behind it, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of different things could look that way at a distance, and we haven't really gotten a good view of this thing.
Yeah,
right.
Well, people will say, well, it's definitely a comet because it's got a cometary tail, and it's got this fuzzy halo around it. Like Avi Loeb will point out, this thing is traveling incredibly fast. You know, that could very easily just be motion blur from the camera.
Yeah.
You know, image smearing.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at these photos, I mean, these people pore over these photos, and they're very up to interpretation.
Yeah.
You know, the thing hasn't been resolved in a close enough image for us to actually determine, you know, its actual shape and actual size.
Well, and that leads me, I guess, to what I feel like is the next natural point. Is, like you mentioned earlier, Oumuamua, we kind of lost our shot. By the time we caught up to what it was and it being interesting, it was already on its way out of the solar system. We don't really have much chance of catching up to it to take a closer look at that rock and determine is or isn't, right? I did hear about this one speculative plan to hopefully try and catch up to Oumuamua, but it's a crazy long shot.
And very expensive.
Yeah. But with 3i Atlas, we're ahead of the game.
Yeah, we
do have an opportunity to get close to this thing and take a look at it.
Yeah.
And that's because we're at the beginning. It's just starting its transit through the solar system, and it's going to be flying by Jupiter on its way out.
Yeah.
And what is around Jupiter right now?
So right now, Jupiter is being orbited by a probe called Juno, named after Jupiter's wife in Roman mythology. Yeah. And Juno was launched in 2011, arrived in orbit of Jupiter 2016, and it's basically just, you know, photographing Jupiter and kind of measuring the composition of Jupiter. Yeah. Science-y stuff, you know. Yeah. So Juno is supposed to be, like, deorbited in early 2026. They're going to do the same thing they did with Cassini. They're going to just
crash it in the atmosphere,
plunge it into Jupiter's atmosphere.
Yeah, because it's basically done its mission.
Yeah, and they do this because they do not want the probe to have any risk of contaminating any potentially alien biospheres on Jupiter's moons.
Right.
That's the same reason they did it with Cassini. Now, Avi Loeb, of all people, Avi Loeb is actually really pushing for this to be investigated. It was Avi Loeb who initially proposed this mission. What he wants to do is he wants to repurpose Juno. You know, it's still got working thrusters. It's still
got a bit of gas. Still
got some fuel. But we have to make a decision before like September 15th, I think.
Yeah,
to do this.
It would need to launch its thrusters. I think it would need to do its burn around mid-September. Yeah, in order to intercept 3i Atlas sometime in late October. I think.
Well, it wouldn't intercept 3i Atlas.
No, but it could do a flyby.
What it would do is they would need to start it on this trajectory by mid-September, and then it would have enough juice in it, in theory, to get in position to intercept 3i Atlas as 3i Atlas is on its way out of the solar system in early 2026.
Yeah. And it's got an incredible suite of sensors. It's got everything you would want to observe this thing, right?
Yeah.
It's got just regular photo cameras, spectrographs, like everything. It's got an incredible sensor suite. So it's kind of a perfect opportunity, right? Because right now all we have is a little light in the sky, right? Well, like you said, with a kind of fuzzy coma. It's really hard to tell what that is. But if we can get this incredible sensor suite that we've got right in its path, we could get some really detailed information about this object.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether it's alien mothership or a rock, that's valuable data either way, because if it is a rock, it's 7 billion years old. It holds secrets from the origins of our galaxy.
Yeah.
So there's incredible science to be had either way. So I am really curious to see what happens in the next month.
Yeah.
To see if humanity can get its head out of its ass enough to say, yes, this is worth doing. Let's repurpose this spacecraft. And how awesome is it that we live in a time where we've got space probes and machinery all throughout our solar system, that an opportunity like this exists where we can say, hey, we've got a probe out there. Let's repurpose it, redirect it to investigate something on short notice.
It's far enough away and it's going too fast that we have no hope of launching a rocket from Earth and catching it. But we live in a time where we can say, oh, we've got assets out there.
Yeah,
we've got assets all over this. That is so cool. I'm just so in awe of that.
Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I felt like this was worth investigating today. I'll be really curious to follow this story over the next month. I really hope we can do that. I really hope the political will and scientific will gets behind that mission. It would be a shame. It would feel like a really missed opportunity if we don't. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go next? Did you have a segue waiting?
Well, I was just wanting to talk about some of the counterpoints to that come up to Loeb's argument about kind of the odd things that would make this seem artificial. It being a rocky body as opposed to an icy one. People will point out, like I talked about the inherent contradiction in it's got a plume because it's outgassing. Why are the elements missing? Well, it hasn't started outgassing yet. And no one will address that contradiction. Yeah. Because it's just a hand wave now. It's just a hand wave. Don't listen to Avi Loeb. He's sensationalist alien guy. And then he talks about the other interesting thing, which is the trajectory and how unlikely that trajectory is. Well, people make the counterpoint. The galaxy might be more inclined to eject objects that are aligned with the galactic plane, which is also aligned with, the orbital plane of our solar system. Yeah. But that doesn't really hold water for me because we have a sample size of 3 interstellar objects. Yeah. And
only one of them.
Two of the 3 had orbital inclinations that were way off. They were not aligned at all. So that doesn't hold water. And they'll also say, well, we might have some observational bias there because our Earth-based detectors are going to have an easier time detecting things that are aligned with the orbital plane. That is also not true. Actually, the opposite is true, because Atlas, it's a small telescope, and it was the one to detect this object. Now, why did such a small telescope detect it when so many other much larger telescopes missed it? Because it was coming from an alignment with the galactic plane. See, larger telescopes will miss that because there's too much light and it will drown out the light from these smaller bodies. You're actually less likely to detect objects if they're coming from that alignment. So that doesn't really hold water. Again, none of this gets addressed. It all gets hand waved away, which just really upsets me. Yeah.
It's annoying. I mean, at least acknowledge that, yes, this is weird, right? Yeah. We need to investigate and find out why these elements exist in this case, right? Yeah. It screams odd that both 2 of the 3 objects that we've spotted in this field coming from interstellar space should have such odd properties.
Yeah. And it's just weird how it just appeared there. It's so
Yeah.
big and so bright. We didn't see it. And we are at a place where we are constantly monitoring
So-
every patch of the sky.
And I mean, if my notes are right, 3i Atlas actually kind of arrived in our solar system, say the outer boundary of our solar system, back when the pyramids were being constructed.
8,000 years ago. Yeah,
Right?
but in theory, I mean, that's based on its speed and trajectory. In theory, it would have entered the Oort cloud 8,000 years ago. But we just kind of saw it just appear there.
Yeah.
In Star Trek.
I mean, we didn't, I'm assuming, per se, in air quotes, that we did not have telescopes capable of detecting such things 8,000 years ago.
No, we didn't. But I mean, I'm talking about this year.
Yeah.
It wasn't there, and then it was there.
That's right. We didn't discover it in 2017 or 2018 or 2019. We discovered it this year.
We didn't see it slowly approaching. We just saw it appear there, big and bright. And
Again, really weird for how massive it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe it hasn't been here for 8,000 years, slowly approaching us. I was gonna say, in Star Trek, if we were to go down the route of this being, an artificial object, a spacecraft, a space probe, in Star Trek, they've got a warp drive.
Yeah.
And they've got their impulse engines for moving slower, but they got their warp drive for traveling faster than light. And
Come out of FTL.
Yeah.
It's like when a Star Destroyer comes out of
Yeah.
hyperspace in Star Wars.
And in Star Trek, in the canon of Star Trek, it is ill-advised to use your warp drive while you are inside a solar system.
Yeah. Very dangerous. You're going too fast. You could crash into a planet, destroy it.
I mean, same in Star Wars,
Yeah.
Using the hyperdrive, you got to plot that route carefully or you'll bounce too close to a star and end your trip real quick, kid, wouldn't it? So maybe that's why it appeared so suddenly. It exited its faster than light travel, and now it's using its conventional approach.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I don't see why not. I mean, I think some would argue the burden of proof is on you to, or I guess it's on all of us to. Maybe Juno can.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Maybe that plume is just its engines. Its retro thrusters burning to slow it down as it enters the solar system. But yeah, so I don't think it's an absurd idea. It's not a new idea that potentially alien civilizations could have been covertly observing Earth. I mean, we have ancient astronaut theory, and a lot of people would say, again, we addressed this on the last episode. Why even talk about it in this context, alien contact in this context, when you have the abduction phenomena, and decades and decades of UFO encounters, that sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. But again, I'll have to reiterate, I like approaching it from this angle because not everybody lives in that fringe reality. Not everybody accepts those accounts and that narrative, right?
Yeah.
And I like the idea of another civilization, maybe somewhat akin to us, discovering or making contact the same way we would if we were out there trying to reach out to another solar system. And it entering into the common nomenclature of mankind. What would it take for that to happen? Basically, if this object was some kind of alien probe and we could definitively identify that, figure out where it came from, who sent it, that would be that kind of evidence.
Yeah. To
bring it into the public sphere for all of humanity in an undeniable way, right? So that's why I find these discussions interesting, and it's worth keeping an eye on and exploring. But certainly there are other stories. This immediately made me think of the Black Knight satellite. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Internet conspiracy theory. It's the idea that an alien civilization has had basically a satellite in orbit monitoring Earth. And there's a couple pretty spurious pieces of evidence people
Agreed.
Point to. There's Nikola Tesla's supposed radio signals.
Yeah.
As he was experimenting with radio towers and getting kind of delayed signals back that seemed to be repeating. A lot of people say he made contact with entities that spoke to him, but there's actually no specific records in anything of Tesla's that points to those conversations. And like, there's some kind of poetic speculation he has, but he never directly has a transcript anywhere that says this is the conversation I had with another being.
Well, how many of Tesla's actual records do we have? John Trump took them all.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other rabbit hole. But anyway, that's a piece of evidence number one that people point to is was he maybe picking up signals from this alien satellite? And there's a famous photo that was taken. What was it? From the ISS in 1998 during a Space Shuttle Endeavour first ISS mission. Astronauts photographed a strange dark object kind of in orbit around Earth that they say, in retrospect, was just like a blanket, like a space blanket that was lost during a EVA. And it just, happened to be folded up and crinkled in a way where it kind of looks like this weird alien probe in orbit. And then kind of from there, it's just does the whole internet's conspiracy thing, and it just spreads like wildfire to create this. I don't put a ton of stock into that particular narrative, the Black Knight narrative.
No.
It's pointed out that would be a really difficult orbit for a satellite to maintain for thousands of years. Like if you wanted a stable orbit for a long duration like that of tens of thousands of years, you would have to be at a Lagrange point, which are stable gravitational points. So I think there's several of them at various positions between the Earth and the Moon or whatever. I don't know all the math. But there's stable gravitational points where you don't need to constantly apply energy or thrust to keep a stable orbit.
That's where we've parked the James Webb, I believe, is at one of those points.
Yeah. But I mean, there's arguments you could make against that as well. Like, we don't know what kind of power source this thing has. Maybe it's really easy for it to maneuver around, and maybe it's got an infinite energy supply of some kind to create thrust. Who knows? But it did get me thinking that, well, is there any kind of really legitimate evidence for the fact that there could be objects in our solar system that have traveled through our solar system that can't be written away as space debris or a crumpled up blanket? And I stumbled across the Vasco project.
Yeah.
So this was really interesting.
Dr. Beatrice Villarreal.
Yeah, do you want to talk about this for a bit?
Well, I was actually learning about this just a couple of days ago. I just came upon it, this project. So she's got like this paper coming out. It's in preprint right now. It's still being peer reviewed, but what she's trying to study transient objects. Yeah. But transient objects because, i.e. UFOs or UAPs, a frequent explanation for them is we're seeing orbiting satellites. Yeah. And she wanted to kind of look at historical data. Yeah. Let's look at if we're seeing these, before, even the Sputnik satellite was up there.
Yeah, early, like 1950s.
Yeah. So she's been going through, historic, photographic plates. What she's seeing is she's seeing these transient objects in the night sky that you can't explain with satellites. Yeah. Because there were no satellites. Yeah. And they often appear like in formations and alignments. Yeah. And
like a triangle formation or in a line. Yeah. Like you would see aircraft.
And the other interesting thing she discovered was the appearance of these objects seems to correlate in the time and place around there of nuclear tests. Right. It's like it's like.
Well, and I've heard one of the arguments against her work is that radiation from nuclear tests could contaminate the plates, but that actually doesn't hold water, as you say, because when you look at the points in the sky that are being photographed versus where testing was being done, and like the potential for contamination is nil. It's virtually zero. Just doesn't line up when you look at it that way. But that's what some people have said in argument against her work is, well, nuclear tests, radiation contaminated the plates, and it's causing these artifacts to appear.
Yeah,
but why would they be in geometric patterns?
Yeah, why would they be moving in formations?
Yeah.
In geometric formations and moving together.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's right, because you don't just see it on one plate and it's gone on the next. You'll
Yeah.
see it traverse like a path through the sky.
Yeah, and that just sounds like such a hand wave explanation.
It is.
Like
it is.
radiation did it.
It's swamp gas,
Yeah.
right? It's the swamp gas argument. Yeah.
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 So I just found it fascinating that these UAPs or UFOs, whatever you want to call them, they seem to correlate with the timing of nuclear tests. Maybe
Are we shooting flares into the air?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Maybe our monkeying around with nature got someone's attention.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting.
Maybe we're the idiots in the dark forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting. The whole UFO phenomenon really started with the nuclear age.
Yeah.
But it seems to be getting like really prevalent now too, especially.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the world now.
That's right.
The world's pretty interesting right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's good, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's enough going on in the world that if I were a passing alien and I turned my head and saw the Earth and was monitoring some of the signals, I'd be like, okay, I need to take a closer look at this.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is good, but it's interesting.
And I mean, I think it's fun to speculate. We're getting into highly speculative territory. But yeah, or say if you had an alien civilization that had a long-term vested interest in humanity and had been observing us for a long time, I think they would be getting really curious at this particular time.
Yeah.
Because things are so volatile, and events, geopolitical events are accelerating, and who knows what's going to happen, right? And if they have an interest in this planet, whatever it is, or an interest in us, yeah, I would be super interested right now, keeping a very close eye on what's going on. Yeah. Okay. Really good. Really fun stuff.
Yeah.
Really robust discussion. I love this. And when you first mentioned it, I thought, I don't know if there's a whole episode there. But yeah, again, it's like it was really fun to revisit the Oumuamua stuff, and I'm always interested to discuss whether we're about to make contact. I came across somebody claiming it was somebody obviously that didn't look at this too carefully. It's more of a political world events channel, but they came out and obviously were convinced, maybe too easily won over by the headline, saying, "Oh, and by the way," and they said it very flippantly, "there is an alien mothership approaching Earth." Just something for everyone to be aware of. And by the way, Baba Yanga predicted that humanity would make contacts with aliens in 2025, which is also not correct.
Every year, every new year, you hear more predictions of Bobby Yanga made about this specific year. The world is going to end this specific year.
Everything gets retconned. Yeah, everything gets retconned to fit
the
current circumstance.
They say that every year.
Yeah.
That's why I say the world has been about to end for like the past 2,000 years.
Yeah.
One of these days, it's going to happen for real.
Totally,
We'll be totally unprepared for it.
But
anyway, what do you think? What is your gut feeling on 3I Atlas? Is it just a comet, a weird comet, or is there something more there? Could it be artificial? What do you think?
I think obviously the most probable thing is it a comet that's got some unusual properties, but those things are curious enough that it's like, yes, we really ought to know more. Figure out getting to know more. Like, that's my final point, is like, I think it's interesting enough that Avi Loeb is right. I don't think he's at all being reckless or brash to suggest that we should consider an artificial origin, considering some of the oddities about it. I really hope they do this Juno repurpose to go investigate the thing. That's what that's my final thought.
Here's another question.
That's what I want to see.
Here's another question. If they did this Juno mission, would they even tell the public about it? Let's say they fly Juno to intercept
new conspiracy. That would be a new cover-up conspiracy.
They intercept 3I Atlas with Juno, and they find it is like a very definite artificial-looking alien craft. Would we hear about it? Do you think?
Potentially not. That would be an easy cover up to make.
Yeah.
The official line is, sorry, there's not enough fuel. We're not going to do that. We're going to crash Juno into Jupiter just as we planned.
That's actually a really good conspiracy because you wouldn't actually need that many people involved in it.
That's right. Yeah. Because, I mean, who can verify what's happening out in the orbit of Jupiter, right? So, yeah, potentially, maybe we might never know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, I've had the belief for a while, probably since like 2016, 2017, with the rise of the UAP phenomenon, us finding things like Oumuamua and now 3i Atlas. I feel like there's enough smoke rising.
Yeah.
There's got to be something
going on.
Yeah. I think there's a real possibility that we're going to get some sort of contact or confirmation of contact within my lifetime.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be wild if, somewhere around, late September or whatever, this thing comes around the other side of the sun and we find that it's slowed down or changed course or something.
End of October. Right
in
time for Halloween.
Yeah. Right, and it's headed our way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be wild, right? Or if we do send Juno and this thing looks like the Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that probe from Star Trek 4? Star Trek 4.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll check back in a month. We'll figure it out.
Maybe it's here for the whales.
Yeah, maybe it's
here to talk to the whales.
Okay, great. Well, why don't we wrap it up? I'm really happy with how this episode has gone. Zena's finally woken up. She gave us a really well-behaved hour here. She's been a monster all morning. She's teething like crazy. So, thank you, Zena, for playing along. But I can tell you're starting to wake up, so let's wrap it up. Anything else you'd like to say before we call it a day?
I'm very proud of myself that I managed to make it through this whole episode.
No notes.
Without my notes. Excellent. Because I got halfway here and realized I forgot my notebook.
Yeah, you must have felt naked. This whole... Because, you've got really thorough notes and you're writing your book the whole time.
So
I hope... reference.
I feel like I got a little lost at points. Hopefully it wasn't too noticeable.
No, not too bad. Nothing I won't be able to edit out and clean up. I think you're good. No, I think this was a great episode. I'm really happy. It's our 30th episode. This is Season 2, Episode 18. We had 12 episodes in Season 1.
Yeah.
This is Episode 30. Yeah. How about that? Hey?
I'm ready for 30 more.
All right. Great. Great. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everyone, if you stuck around this long. Please like, subscribe, leave us comments, tell how we're doing. I got a really awesome positive comment from someone on a YouTube video the other day. I forget your name, but thank you so much if you're still listening. Really appreciate that. That really keeps us going. Like I said, we've only been around 6 or 7 months. We're still a small outlet trying to grow, and getting positive feedback like that from people that are coming back week after week and enjoying the show really keeps us going. So don't be shy. Reach out. Visit the website. I've been making tiny little updates and improvements as we go. But yeah, it's August long weekend if you're in Canada. Have a great long weekend. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.